Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Your Health in Your Hands. This is Dr. David Ajibade, and we are continuing our discussion with Dr. Kulisz on the topic of autism. And if you missed it last time, please go back to our archives, onto the NTA websites. brainandbodyfoundation.org is our website where you can see our earlier discussion, his and mine, as well as others that we've had in the past. These are for you and for your education, not just for you, but for those whom you think might benefit from this service. So please take advantage of it. Dr. Kulisz, welcome back, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So I appreciate all you're doing. And I know you're in the middle of getting ready to to move your family to Panama. That's a huge move, by the way. I'm not going to ask you why you're going to do this, because but I suspect why you're doing this. It may have something to do with politics, but we're not going to get into that.
Well, yeah,
right. But the good thing is that you operate, most of your patients, like you said, are outside the country, so they're all communicating. I mean, it's not like you're moving out, you're going to lose any of your clientele, because they are in Korea, Japan, China, none in Nigeria, from what I understand. But any in Africa?
Actually, we were in South Africa, and we had to stop simply because we could not deliver formulations there. Oh. There were two countries that we had to stop doing it: South Africa and Brazil. Brazil did not like it, and South Africa, they were lost there. So it's. But anyway, other than that, we didn't have any problems around the world.
It must be great to be able to sit down in your office and make a lot of money just from seeing patients.
Well, yes, I want to be paid, because you understand. I mean, everybody does that. I have electricity here. I need to pay bills and all this other stuff. Yeah. But the point is that there is substantial value in it, and what I believe that whatever we are doing, it's a lot less expensive than regular allopathic medicine. And on top of it, there are countries, for example, like Arab Emirates, that reimburse patients for our services. So those patients that are from other countries, before we even start, we tell them, talk to your insurance company, tell them about our credentials, because we are accredited, we are registered as national provider here in the United States. And so I have this national provider ID here. Or we do both as a doctor and as a company, and find out, and you would be surprised that a lot of those insurance companies are telling, yeah, we will pay for it.
That is fantastic. That's good to know. I'm hoping that Nigerians too can benefit from that. So as the website, again, your website is Kulisz at
Kulisz.com, KULISZ.com.
Fantastic. Okay.
KULISZ.com.
KULISZ.com. That's not a kind of name you'd find in too many places. So
well, if they type my name, they will be overwhelmed by all those returns from Google. And I've been doing it for a long time, so this generated quite a bit of notations there.
Absolutely. Anyway, you have your videos on YouTube too, right? So you have your educational videos on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I have some of them. Yeah, I have them primarily in English, but some of them in Polish and in French. And I had to delete those in French because my French is so heavily accented that people couldn't understand me. There was not really.
Your English is accented too, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah, I know people are asking me, where are you from? You have an accent. I'm saying, you are in Texas and you are telling me that I have an accent?
There you go, fun. All right, so let's talk about, like we said before, I want to go through the process. So the parent comes to you, you've done the assessment, they fill the forms, have an idea of what's going on, and then the next step. I know you're going to start with the gastrointestinal system, but just walk us through that process.
Okay, well, once again, so usually people are coming to us, parents of autistic children are coming to us usually because of YouTube videos. Okay, they are searching videos and they are finding those YouTube videos Also, Facebook does a little bit, and some other organizations, some other places. And then when they do, we send them a request for consultation. It's a form on the cloud. They do this request for consultation from which I know condition of a child, because they have to answer quite a number of questions about the child. And then there's very important, I want to know if they are married or they are in the process of divorce or divorced, because married couples have much higher chances of recovering the child than divorced couples. You know, that's very important. So if, you see, I want to succeed. I mean, I want patients to do well. And if there are some things that will prevent me to help the child, like going through divorce, then I don't want to see patients like that. So it's very, very important.
So you would reject a patient?
Absolutely. And this may sound brutal towards some, but the point is that I cannot afford to take money from people for my work, for my help, if the child is not going to improve. And I know the child is not going to improve because I have 20 years of experience in it. You know, so once the family situation clears up, then we can talk again. Okay, but this is really very important to know. And then, other than that, they do this request for consultation. Then we have a consultation on Skype or Zoom, preferably Skype. And after that, if they say, yes, we want to be in a program, then they are getting letter of acceptance, because we need to review it again. See, we always try to skew this in the direction of success. And that we really, what do we need to do based upon request for consultation to effectively help this child? So there is a meeting, and we go through every child that is being submitted for approval to find out if we can help. So the age is the one of the elements, how parents really function during the interview and stuff of that sort. And then after that, they get letter of acceptance. Once they approve this letter of acceptance, which basically state that your child has been accepted to the program, those are conditions that you need to be available for consultations, you need to file weekly reports, this type of stuff. And there is no requirement for payments. There is no obligation to pay for the program if they want to leave the program. So there is no, they are free to do whatever they want to do. And after they approve the letter, then they are getting invoice for first quarter. And after they pay the invoice, we send them formulations. The whole process takes about a month to 6 weeks. So this is not instant process. But after that, once things start working, then it really works like a clock, you know, so it's not a really big problem.
So a month to 6 weeks from when they first fill out the form to consult with you to when you eventually send them their first batch.
That is correct, right?
Okay.
This is a lot of it, because, you know, we need to, very often people don't have money to pay for all this. So we need to ask for a foundation that works with us for financial support. So the situation is that it's very, it is really a time-consuming thing, you know, time-consuming thing. So that's basically how it is. But other than that, I can tell you that this is pretty smooth operation, and the parents seem to be very happy with our responses. Why is it? Because they went through tons of doctors and therapists, and they have not gotten any response. So what happens is that it's very important to understand that having proper responses to parents' needs is very essential in helping the child eventually, you know. And you remember what I said, that as long as parents have hope, children have abilities to recover.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Those parents have great hope. So what happens is that this is the type of parent that you want to have in your practice. But anyway, then after that, we start sending formulations, quarterly supply of formulations. And
the first batch is for just specifically for the gastrointestinal system.
The first batch contains, okay, gastrointestinal tract is being addressed through the whole length of the program.
I see.
Okay. This is the foundation. The first 2 weeks, between first two to 4 weeks, we know it from parents. How does child function? You know, the daily routine of passing bowels, you know, bowel movement and all this stuff. And from this, we can gauge how well the child is progressing. So it may be 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, we don't know. Mm-hmm. But after the gut is restored to the point that we can actually start giving child formulation that child needs, then—
How do we know? How do we know the gut is restored?
Well, you can tell, you know, child was, okay, there are several things. One of them is the child behaves better.
Okay.
If gastrointestinal tract gets to function well, I'm not telling you it's got healed, but at least got functioning well, the child's behavior changes. Child becomes more huggable, child wants to come with the parents, maintains eye contact is very important, maintains eye contact, and is listening. There's not a difference between hearing and listening. Mm-hmm. Okay, the child heard before too, but didn't listen. Now it listens. You know, and I always tell parents, remember, gut or gastrointestinal tract is the second largest neurology after brain. And that's why it is so important. And then after that, we are getting some other formulations that are specifically neurological in function and results, and waiting for things to improve. You know, I like when parents are taking children to some places where children get stimulated. The children, you see, because the child is at home all the time, there is no stimulus anymore. Right. It's like being husband for 50 years, you know. Wives know you and there is no surprise. You know, so we want children to be stimulated. That's why it's important to us that autistic children go to normal schools. I don't want autistic children to go to autistic schools.
Yeah, because they're not going to be stimulated, they're not going to be challenged.
Exactly. Children always want to climb up to the level of older brother, older sister, older whoever else. That's why they need to be in normal schools. That's so important. I'm such an advocate of it. And as a matter of fact, about a year ago, I had an interview with the Bremen School District in Germany. And I mentioned it to them because they said, they called me, and we don't have any results in our autistic schools. And said, because we are putting children in the wrong place. Send them to normal schools. Get those teachers from autistic school, attach them to the normal school so they can actually help the child, help children, and you will see the results. And surely they did. They took whole 3 months to call me back and tell me that it works.
Wow.
You know? So and the rest is just, you know, watching like grass grows.
Okay. All right. So gastrointestinal system is addressed throughout the whole process. And then as the child is improving, you add other things to the process.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So what are the other things you now add?
Okay, the other things that I'm adding are those that really work with, that really restorative to neurology. Remember that brain of those children is very damaged. It's not developed correctly. So we want this brain to develop, to stimulate the development. So what we do is we do cytosols of brain tissues. And usually those are pig brain tissues. Incidentally, I know that there are a lot of people, Muslims, Jews, that don't do pigs. Right. But here's the point. Don't look at it as a food. Look at it as a help. And genetically, pig is very, very similar to us. That's why we have so many politicians, by the way. You know, and what happens is, at least in the United States, and so what happens is that those cytosols, this inner cell fluid that is being removed from the cell, contains tons of information about creation of new cells, healthy cells. And this works terrifically. There is a neurotrophin, neuroplex 1 and 2, or neurotrophin, and another one is neurocomplex.
These are all different supplements.
There's also, all of it is classified as supplements, but once again, those are very complex naturopathic formulations. Then what we do is we feed children. We give them formulations that are very rich in nutrients. Why is it? Because initially those children were malnourished. They had dysfunctional gut. So you can feed children with gold. If they cannot process it, if they cannot digest it, absorb it, then there is no value to the food. And most of autistic children are malnourished. I told you, like before, malnourished and dehydrated. So what happens is that we provide those children with very rich supplements, that very nutrient-dense supplements. And we tell parents how to feed those children: avoid white flours, avoid sugar, be on the nutrient-dense food, because children don't usually like to eat a lot, particularly autistic children. So be sure that food is very nutrient-dense, that you give children a little bit of it, but still is very, very nutritious, very rebuilding. And other than that, it's just, tons of vitamin D. Tons of vitamin D. Our experience is that vitamin D is so absolutely essential to those children in many ways, because, as you know, and others too, that vitamin D has properties of a hormone. Not only a vitamin is a part of food, nutrition, but also properties of a hormone. Very, very stimulating and very regulating towards proper development. So this really, I mean, altogether, parents are getting from us in every shipment somewhere between 8 and 12 formulations.
Wow. That's a lot. I want you to talk about tons of vitamin D. Are we talking about 2,000, 3,000, 5,000?
Yeah, 2,000, 3,000. You see, those are little children, so you don't have to, feed them large amounts. But when it comes to young organisms, little children, probably triple dose, whatever was prescribed by their physician originally, if it was, is probably sufficient. So 2,000 to 2,500 milligrams of it probably would be good.
Okay, international units would be 2,000 international units, right?
They're what? Oh, the international units. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, I totally believe in vitamin D3.
I'm sorry, not milligrams. International units.
International units. Yeah. So, Doc, I want us to take a step back now and talk about regression. Child is born, looks normal, acts normal, up until the age of 2.5, 3 years of age, and all of a sudden, where's my child? Where's Johnny? What happened to Johnny? He stops talking. He's no longer makes eye contact. He was making eye contact before. He was engaged with his siblings and his parents, but now he doesn't seem to care. He doesn't even seem to realize they're around him. Has there been any good explanation for that?
Okay, you have to become detective when it comes to it. You always have to find out what was the moment that child became that way. Because there's a very, very substantial, that there will be date on a calendar, that there was a date, the child woke up and it was completely different. Mm-hmm. And then try to correlate it to the events that were before. Mm-hmm. And then one of those events is unfortunately vaccines. Mm-hmm. That as beneficial as they are, they have side effects. And as a matter of fact, the US Supreme Court several years ago passed an opinion that vaccines are inherently dangerous. So what happens is that yes, they have benefits of improving immunity, or so they say, but also there are some drawbacks, like with every medication. Like with every medication, there's not that vaccines are specifically bad or that specific. No, like every medication, they have side effects. And some children, remember, small, tiny organisms that have not been developed very well yet. Very often it is that the 3-year-old. 3-year-old doesn't even have developed a liver anymore. I mean, the livers, they don't have metabolic pathway. They don't have the detox pathway. So they are accumulating all those toxins. And the result is that they eventually become the way they are, not responsive, kind of affected, neurologists getting affected by it. Once again, as long as they are little, the chances of helping them is very substantial. It's great, actually. Okay. But once the child gets older, say 10, 12, 14 years, that's some heavy duty lifting needs to be done to help this child.
Very true.
So I'm telling you, parents need to have hope, you know, that for a child to have chance of recovery.
Absolutely. Where's your stance where it comes to probiotics?
Well, it's great. Absolutely terrific, particularly at the initial stages of gut restoration. You see, restored gut or gastrointestinal tract, medically speaking, has one property that is very important. And this property is an environment that supports existence of beneficial bacterial cultures.
Right.
Children, autistic children don't have it. Most of Americans don't have it. You know. We are people that are eating tons of probiotics simply because we are unable to maintain our own cultures and because we are so damaged, you know, by the industrially produced food.
Right.
But what happens is that yes, I like it. I like it very much. And I don't think that is needed after, say, month or two of gastric restoration, because gastrointestinal tract will be able to maintain the environment in which those cultures will thrive. So just think about it. And I always tell people, please observe your children. Observe your children. Look, be very critical of those observations. Oh, he did this, he didn't do that. Oh, he changed this from 2 weeks ago. You know, because those little steps, those little observations will lead to some definitions of how good the progress is. You know, and other than that, it just work.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you say every week you're following up with them. You're doing it. Did you say every week or every other week or every month?
Okay, they report the weekly. There are weekly progress reports, okay. And I talk to parents. I have consultations with first month every week, after first month every 2 weeks, and we talk. I want to know how they are doing, how child is doing, what did they have for dinner, you know, how I want to know the family life. I want to know how the child is functioning, because you see, child is like a diamond. If you don't have a background for it, you are not see the beauty of it. If you talk about sick child only as a sick child is part of the family. Family is the background of this little rough diamond in the rough, you know, and we try to polish it. That's basically what we do. So it's something that takes some experience and takes some patience sometimes, because initially, particularly, patients will be talking to you, will be talking your head off, because you will be the only person that parents will know that they can talk without reservations. And if this comes to it, you know that you have it on your side, and child will be progressing very, very well. So there is much more than medical side of it alone.
Right. So you do the psychotherapy, the counseling, the social services, so to speak, and all that to give them the support that they need so that they can.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
It's a pretty complex play.
And folks, by the way, I mean, from Africa too. I mean, Dr. Kulisz is not saying vaccines are bad. If you're from the African continent, you know that most of us are alive today because we had vaccines. But we are saying that, as he said, vaccines are inherently, there is some degree of toxicity. I mean, that's why they're medication.
Well, it's a side effect like any other medication.
Exactly. And it's really, we're pointing at the weaknesses, the inherent weaknesses that are already present in many of these children that makes them more susceptible to the damage caused by vaccines. I mean, if vaccines were universally bad, then everybody would be having autism.
Yeah, but see, let me interrupt for a moment. You see, the biggest problems with vaccines is that those are national movements. Okay, that there is everybody is treated the same way.
Right.
It's kind of like steamroller.
Right.
Vaccine is a medical procedure, and a child should be evaluated for this medical procedure. Because a lot of children, instead of developing side effects, could skip the vaccine altogether and not have side effects and not have problems. And the same applies to adults, you know. So we see COVID vaccine side effects here in the United States. And yeah, there are a lot of, I mean, substantial majority of people are benefiting. There is a small group that doesn't.
Right.
You know, and this group was relatively easy to select, you know, to find out that nobody did it because of laziness, you know, laziness of the system. System, anything that is called social system is deficient right then, because it assumes that everybody is exactly the same, and that's not the case.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very true. So, Doc, this is interesting. So it takes about, you let them know, parents know that it's going to take about 2 years, but from your experience, within 1.5 years, 18 months.
Yeah, very often a year.
Doing, you said 70%, did you say?
Okay, well, I can tell you this, that when we ran a sample on about 700 children that went through our practice, and about 66, 67%, close to 70% joined the group of peers without limitations. Now, there is another 30% that is left, or 30-some% that is left, and about 2/3 of them caught up with this about 2 years later, or within 2 years after the program. And we had about 10, maybe 15% in some cases of children that we lost contact with. And there's many reasons. Parents got divorced, parents moved to another place, you know, lost jobs, whatever is the situation, that they didn't communicate with us and we lost them. So once again, remember that those children have tremendous amount of talents and tremendous amount of abilities, and helping them is not necessarily helping your family alone or a child alone, but just improves the social structure of it. You know, it gives us extra person that has incredible talents. And I always say that, remember, Einstein couldn't tie his shoelaces.
Yeah, he couldn't speak until he was 4 years old. That was probably what I heard too.
That what?
He couldn't speak until he was 4 years old.
Well, you know, you never know what's in those brains of those super people, you know, so that's basically how it is.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Kulisz, we've come to the end of this other session. Thank you so much again for making the time to do this. I'm sure our viewers have benefited tremendously. Folks, remember you can reach Dr. Kulisz at kulisz.com, www.kulisz.com. To ask for more questions. We are streaming all over the world right now, so you can definitely, and of course you can access him through that website, and you can get some benefits if you have a child or you know someone who has a child with these conditions. And Doc, of course, you deal with strokes and other the brain conditions that have to do with adults as well, don't you?
Yes, we have patients that are Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patients in our practice, and I can tell you, if we have one more minute, I can tell you an interesting thing, that we had a patient in Germany, and there was a situation that I was afraid that we will not be able to send another quarter on time. So we sent current quarter supplies for 4 months, then not 3 months like we normally do. And what happens is that this package got lost. So we immediately resent the package. We take responsibility for lost packages. And you know, things were progressing, you know, nothing unusual. And about 4 months later, parents of a child, parents had, wife or mother of the child had her father living with them. And 4 months later, they were awakened by singing in the father's room, this Alzheimer's father room, singing, and they ran to his room, they opened the door, he was sitting on the bed and said, "What's for breakfast?" And it turned out that he ate whole package of formulations that were for a child.
Oh my goodness.
You know.
Well, so you're saying the supplements were for the formulations were
but those are neurological supplements. So that's basically how it helped other guy. And they called me immediately, you know, they called me immediately. But by the same token, I got a call from England 2 years ago or so, that the mother called me crying, couldn't stop from crying. So what happened? Well, Johnny came to me at 7 o'clock, took me by hand, woke me up, took me by hand and said, "Mama, come to my room and play with me." Child was 2 years in our practice. We didn't want to have this child anymore. Parents forced us to keep this child. Child left program after 2 years, nothing was happening. And several weeks after he left program, all of a sudden something clicked. And child that was completely mute it was the first sentence, complete sentence, expressed desire, waiting for a feedback, meaning mother went with him to the room to play. Autism is an incredible thing, you know, so it requires a lot of patience to deal with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Doc, for all you do. I'm sure you've made so many difference in so many families, so we appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. You take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, folks, see you next week. And remember, stay strong and stay safe. God bless.